102 degrees as we get set for the Broncos and the Colts. And today's game is brought to you by Renault, combining quality and affordability to bring you truly remarkable cars. By Owens Corning, makers of pink fiberglass attic blanket insulation. And by Canon, manufacturer of advanced plain paper copiers. And we welcome you to Baltimore, Maryland. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert along with John Brody. Yes, it is hot here in Baltimore. People excited about the Colts coming off the overtime victory last week over the New England Patriots, while the Denver Broncos with a victory over Pittsburgh last Sunday, although not an impressive debut for quarterback John Elway.
Well, a lot of people are going to have unimpressive debuts, as John did down in Pittsburgh playing against that front four. His team did get out with a win, however. That's the important thing, and he expects better days.
1 for 8 for Elway, bruised his right elbow, did not play at all in the second half, while Baltimore quarterback Mike Pagel had a superb game last week. 2 touchdowns, 17 for 31 for Pagel, and he has been a very pleasant surprise. In fact, Coach Frank Cook feels that Pagel somewhere along the line could develop into another Danny White. But the big story here, that first appearance of John Elway in Baltimore, where he is not a very popular figure.
But he did fill the stands, Marv. They've got 57,000 here. I think there has never been this sort of enthusiasm for a player that's only played 2 weeks in this game. No rookie has created the whole viewpoint that he has in such a short time. I commend Dan Reeves for putting him in this position, and I really think he'll be rewarded for it.
All right, we're getting set for the kickoff, and Denver has won the toss, and they will receive. They sold nearly 30,000 tickets this week. It is almost a sellout. Capacity here in Baltimore, 57,340. The Denver Broncos, although accounting for only 139 yards of total offense last week, beating Pittsburgh by the score of 14-10. And Zach Thomas getting set to receive as Raul Allegre, one of the heroes from last week's overtime victory, kicks it off. Steve Wilson, who is back with Thomas. Wilson cutting to the outside. Good return inside the 25-yard line. Steve Wilson, the 5-year man from Howard, running it back 21 yards, stopped by Newton Williams. And this is the first of many receptions for John Elway.
Marv, it's hard enough to hear out there with the Baltimore crowd the way it is when there's been 30,000. Now there's 57. It could be a very difficult day for the wide receivers. They'll have to keep things basic. You see Upchurch and Watson. I don't think there'll be any act with.
Sutter, Bishop, Ryan, Howard, and Lanier on that front line. First down at the 24. The running backs are Farrell and Winder. Long count by Elway. And looks to throw on first down. And overthrows. Nearly picked off by Derek Hatchett. Intended for Steve Watson.
Well, nothing like getting rid of the cobweb. That baby was a perfect spiral. I didn't think the defensive back could drop it.
And a look at the Baltimore defensive unit. Steve Parker replacing Jose Taylor, which is a surprise. Taylor played well last week. The linebackers, Graceland, Cook, one of last week's big heroes, Krause, and Vernon Maxwell, who was outstanding. And there's the Baltimore secondary.
That team is their whole personality surrounds their linebackers.
Nathan Poole has come on, wearing number 34. In the backfield with Sammy Winder. Poole coming off his best day as a pro. And this is Winder on the flank. Boy, is this crowd alive. Vernon Maxwell on the tackle. So the pickup by Winder. And now Frank Tush goes to the nickel defense. The nickel back Kendall Williams has come on, replacing the linebacker Barry Krause. And now Denver with the extra wide receiver, rookie Clint Sampson joining Rick Upchurch and Steve Watson. Third down, 7 at the 27. Penalty marker down. And Elway, let's see, a battle between Larry Anderson of Baltimore. However, Elway made it across the line of scrimmage.
No, I'll tell you what happened. The left tackle was in motion before the ball was snapped. So it's going to be 5 yards against the Broncos, but what a fine play by the receiver. I'll tell you, that was actually an end-over-end job. It's very hot. The ball's very slippery, and that may happen more than once today.
Larry Anderson in a wrestling match with Rick Upchurch. Elway very close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but false start. Number 70 offense, still third down.
James Stoddard is called for the false start. He is the left tackle.
That could also happen quite a bit, Mark, just due to the fact that you cannot hear your quarterback. And Dan Hayes was talking last night to me about the importance of away from home hearing your quarterback talk. They may have to get a microphone in there to help the quarterback. I think it's a good suggestion.
Third down at 12. In fact, Steve DeBerg does wear the amplifier because he has a problem with his throat. This is Winder. Sandy Winder, short of the first down, wrestled down by Kim Anderson. Anderson and James Burrows make the stop. This crowd is charged up as the Baltimore Colts have stopped Elway and the Broncos in their first drive.
You know what? He'll get underway. It's just a little tough in Baltimore for anybody to get moving. And remember again, Baltimore plays pretty aggressive defense. You don't get drives going on them very often.
Luke Prestridge kicking away to Larry Anderson. Anderson to the 33. And he is stopped by Keith Bishop, a 44-yard punt, and a 7-yard return. Bishop and Steve Wilson combining on the stop, and the Baltimore Colts go to the offense for the first time. They spot it at the 33-yard line. Last week, Baltimore over New England in overtime. Only 30 seconds into overtime. They actually never had the ball on offense.
Didn't take Cooks long once he picked it up, though, did it?
Curtis Dickey, Randy McMillan are the running backs. Boozer and Butler are the wide receivers. And this is Dickey to the 40-yard line. Picked up 7. Setting a 2nd and 3. Steve Foley and Lewis Wright combining on the stop. Check that, Randy McMillan on the carry. And a look at the Denver defensive unit. Barney Chavis, it was Don Latimer's turn to start at nose tackle. And the linebackers, anchored by Randy Gradishaw.
The only new one is Busick. Good player, and Lewis Wright is having, again, a stalwart opening. He's an all-pro if there ever was one.
They're calling it a 2nd down and 2. That is Buza in motion. First down and more. Randy McMillan ripping off 25 yards and a first down for the Colts at the Denver 35.
I was just going to mention when Curtis Dickey made that fine run on first down, they've got another player by the name of Randy McMillan. The two of them gained over 140 yards together last week, so they truly are a tandem, which you see very few of in this game anymore.
Randy McMillan in his 3rd year out of Pittsburgh. Again, Boozer comes across. And this is Dickey. Taken behind the line by Mike Harden. Mike Harden had a most unusual game last week. Twice he took laterals after turnovers. Both times ran the ball into the end zone. Both called back by penalties.
You know, he's made a fine transition. He was normally a free safety, strong safety type, but he's adjusted to play in the corner very well. He's a hitter. He's an aggressive type player, and they feel they filled in well with him.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13 at the Denver 38. 4 minutes gone by, first quarter, no score. And here's Cagle to put it up. The tight end, Tim Sherwood, but well short of the first down. So Sherwood, the 3-year man out of Boston College, stopped by Randy Gradishaw.
It is short of the first down, but they are in field goal range. And contrary to many people's thoughts where there should be a lot of points scored, I think that the winner could easily have 17 today.
17, the magic number, huh?
Well, you know, both these teams have good defenses, and I think 17 might get it.
All right, we'll hold you to that. Marking it down.
Don't.
It's a third down and 6 at the 31.
The impressive thing to me, Marv, number 72, Carl Balderschweiler, on Rulon Jones, knocked him clean back on his backside. The left guard, Chris Hinton, they know he's a fine one, 290, 6'5", but it's a young one. So far, nobody for the Broncos has been able to penetrate, and that's the key.
And it's a first down at the Denver 18. Good-looking drive by Baltimore. Randy McMillan.
If you'll note, also, all of the plays that Pagel has called are on the first snap count. He hasn't waited. He's gone to the line of scrimmage. He's got the center getting him the ball. That way, it's very easy to put your attention on what you're trying to do and get it executed. They can't hear any better than the Broncos could, so they're trying to do the simplest and the best.
Second down and 7, down to the 15. Mike Pagel had his most extraordinary game in college at Arizona State against John Elway and Stanford. He threw 7 touchdowns.
Tell me about it. I watched.
Oh, the old Stanford man with his true feelings coming out. Here's Curtis Dickey, and he is hit back. So Dickey tried to go left, and that Denver surge, led by Jim Ryan, inside linebacker on the left side.
We're looking at Zeke Bartkowski. I think that's right. Long-time quarterback. Now the offensive coach for the Baltimore Colts. Says of Pagel that he's an outstanding athlete, had a real good game last week, and he expects him to continue.
It is a third down and 6 at the 15. And Pagel looking into it, nearly picked off by Lewis Wright. Pass intended for Ray Butler. So Pagel going for the 6, and now the field goal unit moves on.
And that's where the new rule had an effect right there. There was incidental contact on the play. When Ray Butler went down there, he ran into Louis Wright. There could have been a penalty last year. The rule change was that if it's incidental to the action, they will not call it. And Louis Wright almost picked one off. You won't see him drop many chances, but he dropped that one.
And here is Raul Allegre with the punter Ron Stark to hold. Allegre acquired from the Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks back, succeeding on 3 field goals last week. And this from 33. It is good.
Could have been 63. That's up in the second deck.
A rookie out of Texas continuing his sensational kicking. And Baltimore leads it 3-0.
Introducing the amazing Renault Encore.
These two clubs met, and Denver with a convincing victory by the score of 28-10. Ball game that saw Curtis Dickey star. He ran for 115 yards. There's Raul Allegre.
The change that's taken place in Baltimore is they think they have a good group. And I think prior to that there was a lot of beefing and moaning, and they never really got together. And Cush has groups that know who the boss is, and they're all together.
This is Steve Wilson picking his way. And Wilson out near the 35, hit down by Newton Williams. 24-yard return by Wilson. And once again, John Elway hears it from the crowd. Last week that Elway may have been aiming the ball, may have been very, very tight.
I understand what you're saying, where he's trying to make sure that he's throwing the ball where he wants to throw it. You can't do it. He's got as fine a natural motion as he's ever been in this game. He can do things that a lot of players have never been able to do. But hey, you don't just walk in and take over this game. This is the best in the world.
That roar greeting the announcement that the Orioles are in front of the Yankees. That roar was not for Elway. First down at the 34-yard line. Off the delay, this is Rick Parros. Picked picked up one. Barry Krause, inside linebacker on the right, was all over Rick Barros, who had a rough one last week. 10 carries, only 10 yards.
Well, you know, they're having a little offensive line problem. Both their tackles are top tackles. They feel that Studdard and Lanier can play the positions better than average. Their center is probably the best lineman on their football team offensively. Vlasic is out, remember. Paul Howard's playing now, and he's an old-timer, but they really haven't had any 5 guys together, so their coordination's been off, and this isn't a good group to be off with.
Second down and 9. Leiter and Paros are the running backs.
Whoa.
Upchurch not able to hang on.
John's pressing a little, I'll tell you that, Marvin. If you had a chance to see him after he threw that ball, it was a high throw. What you do when you're a little anxious is throw the ball high. It's no different than in baseball. Pitcher does the same thing. And he's really not on top. If you watch his motion right now, he's moving a little too hard. He's throwing that ball too hard for the distance he's got to make it travel. Upchurch may have been knocked down if it had hit him in the chest at that pace. He's going to have to just relax, and it's nice to see that he is a human being. Some people have described him as a perfect one. So he'll have to settle down.
Elway has Upchurch and Watson as his wide man. Third down and 9. Leo Wisniewski stopping John Elway.
And this is a very good pass rush. Everyone had somebody picked up. It allowed Elway to jump up in the pocket, but Wisniewski jumped in and just made a fine recovery to pull John down rather than allowing him about a 12-yard gain. So you can see Baltimore's defense is cranked up, and that was expected.
Larry Anderson awaiting this Luke Prestridge kick. Prestridge averaged 45 yards per punt last year, leading the NFL, and made it to the Pro Bowl. And a boomer. Anderson, the 6-year man from Louisiana Tech. Broke a tackle, but was forced out. And the Colts, who lead it 3-0, will take over. Rick Dennison leading that Bronco coverage off the 52-yard punt. A 6-yard return, and a timeout has been called. We'll be back in a moment.
When I do a job,
And a 33-yard field goal by Raul Alegre. The Baltimore Colts out in front of the Denver Broncos by the score of 3-0. 6:15 remaining. First quarter, and Baltimore to the offense. First down at their 29-yard line. Here's Pagel on the play action going deep. Butler not able to hold on.
Oh, that's a nice defensive play. Pagel put that ball in a very good spot. Ray Butler should have been able to keep the defender from touching that ball because he had the inside. He had his shoulder to the inside. Now, here's a guy like Butler, when you become a great receiver, once you get a step in front of a defender like he does with the ball, and you are between the defender and the ball, you have to keep him from getting a hand on the ball. Now, Butler, all he has to do is slow down a little bit, just keep it there, catch it in the outstretched arms. He could have made a big play out of it. Instead, they got 2nd and 10.
Mike Harden covering on the play. 2nd down and 10. Here's McMillan. And the Denver defense all over Randy McMillan, led by Rulon Jones, who comes off a big ball game last week. Sacked 2 fumble recoveries against Pittsburgh. Had only 2 sacks a year ago after 21 in his first couple of seasons. So Rulon has turned it around.
Well, Rulon Jones played in that was I don't even know if anybody can count last year as a season. Rulon Jones was a great player. Nothing got started for Denver last year, and including Rulon. But you take a look. Last week he played real well, as you mentioned, Marv, and he is one of the young, great defensive ends.
He's up front with Carter and Chavis. 3rd down, 14, back at the 25. And Pagel fires the middle. He threw it off target, intended for Tracy Porter. Tom Jackson, number 57, covering, and Baltimore forced to punt. But first, for an update, let's go to NFL 83 in New York.
Okay, thank you, Marv. Ali Haji Sheikh for the Giants from 30 yards away in overtime on the first possession of OT. Bill Parcells has his first victory. The Giants beat the Falcons in overtime. Marv?
All right, let a bounce back for Haji Sheikh, who missed a field goal and an extra point last week in the opening day victory against the Los Angeles Rams. Here's Ron Stark booting. Oh, beauty. Zach Thomas chasing down. Oh, what a punt and roll for Stark. 65 yards.
And he didn't get a real good bounce on that ball. That was about 60 from the line of scrimmage in the air.
Last year, this tough sport.
Pittsburgh over Green Bay. They were in a shootout today, so Green Bay putting points up. Pittsburgh winning at 25-21. And Buffalo gets into the win column. Cincinnati having a very difficult time.
They did not have it together.
Dallas winning big over St. Louis in the fourth quarter. Off the 65-yard punt. A rough situation again for John Elway, who is 0 for 2 thus far this afternoon. The fumble, and Elway covers up. But we'll have to take another look at that handoff.
All right, nice close look. John takes the ball. Sometimes it's the way you give the ball on the handoff. Went right through Winder's hands. He never got his hands on it. That was on the back. Sometimes it's on the quarterback if he doesn't get it there. But that time Winder just tried to grab it, let it go underneath. That's his fumble. John made a good heads-up play to keep the ball.
Defense from the crowd. What the fans here in Baltimore would love to see would be Elway yanked eventually by Dan Reeves, and things continue going the way it has gone.
It might happen if he seems rattled. I imagine it would be depending on the way Elway's playing, but I doubt that John reacts to situations pretty well. Now he's a little delay a game. That'll cost him about a foot. That's not a big problem. What is the problem is they don't have good field position. Baltimore's a young team, has everything going their way, and he's got to climb out of a hole.
By the final score of the Giants in overtime.
Violation of the 30-second count.
Over Atlanta, 16-13. Washington beating Philadelphia, so the Skins bouncing back from their loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Cleveland over Detroit in the fourth quarter.
That's a good time to have a big game for Sam because they've had a little trouble.
Chicago defeating Tampa Bay. Second down, still about 19. Out to the 5 is Sammy Winder. The Colts with a 3-0 lead on a 33-yard field goal by Raul Allegre. There's Sammy Winder, who had a superb game against Pittsburgh, his best game ever in the NFL. It was last Sunday, and he comes off the solid rookie year, alternating with Dave Preston and Gerald Wilhite. He and Wilhite in a battle during training camp. Wilhite on injured reserve, out with a hamstring.
And that is a big loss for Denver because he was a multi-dimensional type back. He was an excellent pass receiver, and that's what a guy needs, particularly if you're an Elway.
Denver now third down and 14, and looking to talk it over. I saw an indication for a timeout with 3 minutes and 44 seconds remaining in this first quarter.
George timeout, Denver. George timeout, Denver.
So they did call for the time. Looks to be some confusion there, John.
There is some confusion, and it happens a lot of the time. Listen, this isn't the first time that Denver's ever been confused. You know, they've been sending in plays with Dan Reeves. It's not what he's always used to. He caused that foul up, in my opinion.
Bigger engines work.
John, how do you react to the severe coaching philosophies of Frank Coach?
Well, I don't know. I guess you mentioned earlier, have you ever played on a team where the coach slapped the player? And I've never played on one where he didn't.
Really?
I mean, that's just part of the deal, and I don't think anybody that plays takes it very seriously. And Frank Cush has his way, and everybody knows it now, and he's doing all right.
We'll get back to that point a little bit later on. Third down and 14 for Elway and the Broncos. Winder, the intended receiver, covered by Vernon Maxwell, and still the next pass completed by Elway will be his first.
That's okay. He did all he can do from his position in a difficult. He put this ball the only place it could be thrown, and if Winder hangs on to the ball on the dead run, as he should, he runs it right down the field to about midfield. Well done by Elway, but takes 11.
There have been a couple of drops along the way.
Maybe he'll have to stick it in his face mask, because that one definitely hit him in the hand.
And Luke Prestridge deep in his end zone. Larry Anderson out at midfield awaiting this punt. And a good one. This is Anderson. Penalty marker down. Anderson to the 35. 25 and pulled over. A beautiful run back. 49-yard punt. 26-yard return on the punter Prestridge on the tackle. However, a flag down.
As John David Crow used to say when we'd come back to the huddle in the first series, they're hitting today. I mean, there is some intensity out there, and you can feel it clear up here.
Referee today is Gene Barth, the umpire Bob Boylston, head linesman Burl Toller, line judge Jack Johnson, the back judge Jimmy Rosser, side judge Jerry Austin, and the field judge is Fritz Graff. And here is Barth marking it.
Illegal use of the hands, number 55 on the run back. First down.
So on the run back, Barry Krause called for the illegal use of hands. And with 3:27 remaining in this first quarter, it's the Colts 3 and the Broncos nothing.
Mercedes
Cush, who was not pleased with Barry Krause a moment ago. You say you've never been on a team where you have seen a player has not been slapped around by a coach?
Well, I mean, that's part of the game, and there's some assistant generally on either side of the line who is doing the same thing with his lineman. That happens every day. So I don't think many players take it very seriously. Now, Cush does have a very Marine type attitude, and he gets people that like to play that way, and there's only one boss in Baltimore, and as he mentioned, Marv, he said, listen, I like to get the freshmen, the first-year guys that know how to play my way. They'll teach the guys coming in next year my style, and then I won't have to go and impose all these rules and regulations, and it seems like he's kind of getting it that way right now, and he's got people that do it his way and do it pretty well.
Randy McMillan picked up 3 2nd and 7. You ever slapped around, John?
By a lot of defensive ends. And my wife.
I don't want to bring that up. Bernard Henry on the reception. Henry, a second-year man out of Arizona State. He caught 4 last week in the win over New England. But Barth with the indication. And again, a flag. So it's against the Colts.
False start, left side of the offensive line, still second down.
And it's a second down and 12. Back at the 41. Baltimore 3, Denver nothing. Just under 3 left in this first quarter. Ray Donaldson leading them up to the line. Booza is flanked wide to the left. McMillan and Dickey are the running backs. And that's Booza in motion. Nice catch by Bernard Henry for the first down. Hit out by Hart and Smith. Dennis Smith, the strong safety. Mike Harton, the right cornerback.
We have already heard that Bernard Henry has 4.4 speed. Who I didn't know he had this sort of flexibility to get both feet in the way he did, catch the ball, ran a nice pattern. 4.4 speed with that kind of athletic ability is very important. Let's take a wide look. You see they've got a 7-man front. Underneath of the linebackers, that's what Booz is trying to take with him. There wasn't a lot of room to put it in there, but Pagel did it.
Back to the live action. First down at the Denver 45. Here's McMillan. Could not make the turn. Randy McMillan, who has great power, enormous thighs on number 32, 6'1", 220 pound. Randy McMillan forced out by Tom Jackson. Again, the crowd responding to the Oriole lead over the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or the use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Baltimore Colts and the National Football League is prohibited. Curtis Dickey to the 40-yard line. Redishar and Chavis combining on the tackle. Curtis Dickey is a guy with all the tools, speed and strength, all-pro potential. His toughness at times has been questioned.
Well, it wouldn't be questioned by me. I think sometimes that has to do with intensity, Marv. And you've heard a lot of statements that he's made, particularly involving Burt Jones when he was here. And I don't think he's ever totally been happy here. And we hear he's running out his option year, and he may or may not be around. That isn't the personality type that Cush is looking for. And the other back is. So time will tell.
Third down and 5. Pagel hit and fumbles. And the Baltimore Colts have coughed it up. Rulon Jones recovering the fumble. Good hit by Dennis Smith, the strong safety.
Well, look, I'll tell you who recovered the ball and Rulon Jones may have made the hit. But here's Hinton, the #1 draft choice that they got for John Elway. He was of some use there, 290 pounds, 6'5", but he doesn't run very well.
All right, Zach Thomas awaiting the punt. And a penalty marker is down.
Say Baltimore may get to retain. No, it would still be 4th down and 6 yards to go, but we'll just wait.
Number 60, ineligible downfield on the kick. Penalty refused. First down.
Well, it was a 29-yard punt. And the penalty declined.
I'll tell you, Frank Cush is a little concerned right now. His team's leading 3-0, but he knows that his defense has stuffed the Denver offense, and they've kept them from getting any points, but they don't have any safety. They can't do anything offensively themselves, and they've been in real good field position to do so.
All right, the stats on John Elway. 36 seconds remaining, first quarter. Sammy Winder with a twisting run across the 30-yard line. Larry Krause and Larry Anderson combining. Steve Parker also involved. 5-yard advance, second down and 5. Clock running down in this first quarter with the Baltimore Colts leading at 3-0 on the 33-yard field goal by Raul Alegre. And they'll let it run down. So that is the end of one here in Baltimore. Welcome you back to Baltimore, Maryland. Crowd of 57,000 on hand, and that does not bode well for the Baltimore Colts.
No, it looks like Ray Butler is out for at least this ball game, and the early prognosis is that he has some sort of separation or dislocation there, and that means he'll be out for more than one ball game.
Second down and 5 for Denver at their 30. That's Watson in motion. Here's Winder. The 32-yard line. Sammy Winder in his second year out of Southern Mississippi.
They're playing an 8-man defense there up front, and it's very tough to move the ball along the ground when you've got a group they've got 4 linebackers, 3 down linemen, and a strong safety who's supporting from the inside out, which puts them with 8 people up there in front, and to try and beat that run is very tough.
And they brought in Sanders Shiver as an extra linebacker. He made the stop on Winder, so it's a 3rd and 4 at the 31, and John Elway has not been able to get anything going to this point.
I'd throw a little swing pass, anything.
All right, here's Elway. Overthrew Winder, so Elway 0 for 4.
He had Winder wide open. The two of them are having a little trouble connecting with their communication is the only thing that's out. Look at Winder, 23 on the top left of your screen. He beats the linebacker so badly, he's got nothing to do but run if John can get him the ball. This time it was all on Elway. They've got another turnover due to the fact that they can't communicate.
And this is Luke Prestridge.
That's a long word for pass and catch.
Yes, that's good, though. That captures it. Larry Anderson awaiting the punt.
Ooh.
Anderson to the 40. Again, nice return.
Fumble.
And a fumble. And let's see what the call is. Yes, it is recovered by Denver.
I don't know about that.
Now they say the other way. Wait a moment.
That was Burl Toller, and he was trying to put his arm straight up, but one of the Denver players wouldn't let him.
It's a 41-yard punt. Anderson returned at 17, and the Baltimore Colts did recover. So a timeout has been called. Minute gone by, second quarter, with Baltimore in front, 3-0.
Chevy Tires is taking charge.
Marv Albert, John Brody from Baltimore. With a minute gone by, second quarter, the Colts lead it 3-0. And it's Baltimore first down at their 47. Hagel has it deflected. Randy Gradishar got a piece of it. So Pagel is now 3 for 7 on the day.
That's right. We showed that shot of Ray Butler earlier. He is now stated to have a sprained shoulder, Marv. And here's a perfect example. Pagel is getting tougher and tougher to complete the ball in the middle of the field. You have to knock so many people down. That time the linemen were all taken care of, but Gradishar with his quickness got right in the path and kept the play from being completed.
It is a 2nd and 10. Play action, and Pagel throws the middle. Nice catch by Booza. Mark Booza in his second season from the University of California, hauled down by Steve Foley and Lewis Wright. They pick up 21 yards on the play.
And it's a perfect illustration. Bob Svensson, one of the top linebackers in this game. He's got his back to the quarterback now, but he's getting the path of Booza. He's trying to get in between the receiver and the quarterback. He does so, but Pagel puts it right between the numbers. Booza catches it on the dead run. It's a perfectly executed play. They pick up a first down, and they've got great field position.
Booza, one of those receivers, not fast, but excellent hands. First down at the 33 as Pagel runs for his life and runs it out. Wise move. Bryson Matter leading the pursuit.
And I tell you what, Lewis Wright knew he wasn't fooling anybody. He was just scrambling to the sideline, come back and get a chance to play again. 2nd and 10 is okay.
That Baltimore offensive unit with Baldershile and Mills at the tackles, Hinton and Wright at the guards, and Donaldson the center. Chris Hinton, bothered by a knee injury suffered in preseason. 4th overall pick in the draft, originally by Denver, then involved in the trade for John Elway. Curtis Dickey off the slant. Picks up short yardage.
You notice Pagel looking over to the sideline. He's looking over at Zeke Bratkowski, who is calling the offensive plays. Zeke looks like a third base coach. He's sweating. That's more action than he got as a player.
Yeah. Can you steal the sign there, John?
I'm not going to try. It seems like they're making it awfully complicated. You used to get in the huddle and say pattern 1. And everybody knew what to do, and you'd go out and play it, throw something up, hope it stuck. Now they got it all figured out.
3rd down and 8. And Pagel is sacked. Bryson Matter on the blitz.
Oh, my. I'll tell you, there's a couple guys down. Oh, man, this is a bad break for Denver. They've got Bob Svensson with a knee down there on the ground. A man of his ability. He's the stalwart of their defense, and Pagel isn't getting up too quick. Boy, he took a couple of shots. I think that's Swenson.
Yes, it is. Bob Swenson, who's right back to his Pro Bowl form after the holdout of last season.
Yeah, you just hate to see that.
Denver coming up with its 2nd sack of the day. And a timeout has been called. 3.5 gone by in the second quarter.
17.
Today's game is being brought to you by Chevrolet. Chevrolet is taking charge. By Army, be all you can be. And by Valvoline, everything you need in a motor oil. Marv Albert, John Brody from Baltimore's Memorial Stadium on a very hot and humid day. Here is Ron Stark. Back to punt. Bob Swenson was able to walk off the field.
This is amazing. Okay, I'm not ready for that one. They have kept Denver in a hole for the whole game. They've kept them from being able to move at all offensively. They've got 15 yards to pick up on a fake punt. It isn't like they had 4 or 5 to go. I know they must have seen something in the film, and when it doesn't work, it makes you look silly. But this play doesn't look like it has enough design to it to where the pursuit couldn't have caught it anyway. And they haven't got a guy with great speed. I mean, Barry Krause isn't the #1 sprinter on this group. That play surprises me, and it gives a real shot in the arm to Denver. So Denver able to take over on the fake that did not click. First down at the 41. That's Watson in motion. And there's the first completion, Rick Upchurch. So Elway with his first completion of the day, and Upchurch able to collect the first down. James Burrows, the left cornerback, on the stop. They don't have to get any smarter than that either, Marv. They don't have to run through all their playbook to find out passes they can complete. Simple little hitch passes. Give it to the backs on a quickie. He's had Winder twice and missed him. This play is so easy to execute. You don't have to hear well. Go up the line of scrimmage, get the ball off on a quick count, let's move down the field. Sometimes we overcomplicate these things. And it's a first down at the 48-yard line. Watson is left, Upchurch right. And they run out of the eye with Poole in front of Winder. This is Winder. And he took a hard hit. Uh-oh. Donnell Thompson is hurt. Jim Wright of Denver is down. Wright, the tight end, and that's you just saw Donnell Thompson. That's right. He was a number 1 draft choice, number 99, Donnell Thompson. Whether or not we see it, I do not know, but I believe it's yes, sir. He got his elbow extended because Paul Howard was trying to block him. He got it hooked on the ball carrier, and I don't know how long that'll keep him out, but they are very painful. There's Thompson, who is making it back from a severe knee injury suffered 2 years ago. Jim Wright still on the field. He is down. He had a sprained knee against Pittsburgh last week. In fact, he was called a probable for today. So Denver working on Wright. It's the first time they've had a number that they haven't had old, Riley Odom's in there in a Denver lineup in so long, you almost took him for granted. Look at how hot that is. Does that make you feel better, John? I'll tell you what, I feel pretty good, but 102 that'll test you down on the field. That means it's got to be at least 110, 115. It is a second down and 8 at the 46. Upchurch left. Watson right, and Egloff in a tight end. Here's Winder. Nice ball by Sammy Winder. Beautiful spin to collect additional yardage. James Burrows tripped him up. That is what, now listen, it's a simple little play, but watch Elway. Comes back, he looks down the field. If you don't look down the field, you give where your target away. But he comes out to Winder, and he's got some room to run. Had he looked at his target a little earlier, the linebackers would have pursued. They'd have kept it to a 2-yard gain. He didn't. Winder was able to pick up the first. So Elway is now 2 for 6 off those short flips, but he's picked up another first down at the Baltimore 36. Colts lead it 3-0. Early field goal by Allegre. Nathan Poole. Oh. Met by number 45, James Burrows. I think they can file that pitch for the rest of the day. They're liable to run out of backs. They won't have a guy who'll be willing to run that play.
James Burrows, who had his ups and downs last season as a rookie, played well last week. Yard lost by Denver, 2nd down and 11.
Greg Braceland, the kid from the University of California, was let go by the Raiders, has been a stalwart here, and he made a fine play then.
Braceland, originally a draft pick of the Denver Broncos.
Right.
Again, Rick Paris, as Elway went to the ground, and the Baltimore defense very aggressive, but that'll be marked where Paris's forward progress was stopped, but the crowd loves it.
They wouldn't let him fall. Sometimes you can't get to the ground. Hey, now you know it's those little passes to the outside. That they've got 8 people in tight. They're not going to let Denver run the ball inside.
Paris did pick up 2. It's a 3rd down and 9, and the ball spotted at the 35-yard line.
We've heard a lot about Rich Carlos. I think he may get his chance to kick a field goal because if they can just move it 4 or 5 yards, they've got it inside a 50-yarder.
Denver rushing for only 14 yards on 10 carries. And Elway out of a shotgun. Now the play is whistled. Some angry Broncos and Colts bumping each other.
I think we've got a little. Listen, you can't hear very well, and I think it's another too much time, and that's one of the problems with calling them from the sideline. And then on top of that, the crowd noise. It's been tough, and it just keeps the confusion level very high.
Delay of game offense, still 3rd down.
So another delay of game penalty against the Broncos.
Big 5 yards. I mean, Carlos still had a chance to kick it even 51 yards from there, but now they've got to pick up a completed pass. They've got 14 for a 1st down.
And the Broncos looking to do it right in the infield area of the baseball configuration here at Memorial Stadium.
Steve Watson hasn't had a ball thrown his way.
Elway stepping up and overthrows.
He was trying to get Watson.
Greg Braceland got a piece of it. And again, the crowd reacts to the Baltimore defensive effort as the Bronco drive has been stopped.
That was good linebacker play that time, Marv. You have that kind of reaction. I thought Elway had the ball right in the breadbasket for Watson, but Braceland broke it up.
Braceland, Cooks, Krause, and Maxwell, the Baltimore linebacking core. Prestridge able to angle it out, does not allow a return.
Now the wheel has turned a bit, and it's all because of that 4th and 15 fake punt job. Now Baltimore's in a very bad position. They've got to come out of a hole, give Broncos a chance, and they will get in.
This is Army 212, 7 miles northwest, low fuel, heavy weather.
Army 212, radar contact, turn right heading 150.
With a fog-bound helicopter hanging on your every word. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, only that you're good.
Slowly.
Roger.
Overlanding threshold.
Be all that you can be.
Thanks for your help.
Roger.
You can do it in the Army.
Mom, how come Jeffy Wilson gave me his rabbit?
Well, since Jeffy's dad died, they have to move to an apartment.
Do we have to move if something happens to our dad?
Oh, no, baby.
Allstate Update. Mortgage Protection Life Insurance.
With an Allstate Mortgage Protection Plan, it doesn't cost much to help make sure a paid-up house is there for your family, even if you aren't.
Don't worry, Mercy. You never have to move again.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Don't miss the very best in baseball. Eastern Division rivals square off. The Tigers battle Yaz and his youngsters from Boston. Or the Cardinals fly into Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. Only on NBC Sports.
John Elway off to a rough start, although has not had much help. There have been several that could have been caught, but still not looking sharp, coming off the 1-for-8 debut a week ago.
It'll probably get rocking, don't worry.
Off the Luke Prestridge punt that was angled out, it went 26 yards. The Colts start out. Curtis Dickey off the acceleration with a burst. Stopped by Rulon Jones. But a very impressive move by Dickey right near the first down marker.
Man, that's that big with that kind of explosiveness is, I mean, I've got to give him the ball some. I think that's the second time he's carried it all during the ball game. I'm not sure. I know you've only got one ball. It's hard to give everybody a shot, but I'd give it to him some.
And he picked up the first down out of the 23. Again, it's Dickey. And that fumble after the play was blown dead. Busick and Wright coming up to make the stop.
Well, that's what I know. You can see it is no picnic in there close. There wasn't a hole. That time the secondary knew they were going to give it to Dickey also. Louis Wright right in there behind the line of scrimmage.
Curtis Dickey had a brutal first half last week against New England. 2 fumbles, called for a couple of penalties, but Cush stayed with him. And he came through with a big second half. 2nd and 10 at the 23. Dickey coming around.
We've got a flag, Marv. So often happens on reverse flow plays.
And it's against Baltimore. It was Curtis Dickey on a reverse as he went right to left. And they're marking it off against the Colts.
I'm sure that Frank wants to know who that penalty was on.
Number 83 offense, holding, still 2nd down.
If I were the official, I don't think I'd have told him the number.
Yes, Frank upset last week about several calls. That's Frank Cush in his 2nd year as head coach of the Baltimore Colts. Spent 22 years at Arizona State.
One year they were 12-0, the only undefeated, really top quality team, and they were still only 2nd in the country, and that got quite a bit of concern out in Arizona.
This is Zachary Dixon, a one-time Denver Bronco, hit out by Don Latimer. So the holding penalty against the tight end Tim Sherwin, putting the Colts in a hole. Zachary Dixon, 3rd season with the Colts, 5th in the NFL. He's been a few places: Giants, Eagles, Broncos, drafted by Denver back in '79 on the 11th round.
He'll know a lot about structure, won't he, by the time he quits?
Organizational structure.
Sir.
Dixon started 3 games last year when Curtis Dickey had some difficulty. 3rd down at 18, back at the 15. Here's Hagel. Bernard Henry, but well short of the first down. Gradishar and Busick right there on the coverage.
Well, that's the tough way to pick up 7 or 8 yards, trying to beat Gradishar and Busick after you've caught the ball in the middle. That will test any receiver. If anybody had any concerns about Mr. Henry's durability, they found out there.
This time I have the idea Ron Stark will punt.
I think he'll punt this one.
And Rick Upchurch, who did not drop back for punts at all last week, is back now, and a beauty by Stark. Here's Upchurch, who led the NFL last year. Ricky Jones with the trip up of Upchurch.
All right, that shows you where they're coming from in Baltimore. This guy is a 7-year veteran. He had his job taken away. He's on special teams with that kind of hustle. That tells you they're on the move.
We are USA 1. Taking charge by unleashing a Chevrolet that comes.
And right here, we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is Colorado's News Channel, Channel 4, KCNC, Denver.
Baltimore, Maryland, Marv Albert, John Brody, 58-yard punt by Ron Stark. Of the Colts, 6-yard return by Upchurch, and Elway and the Broncos first down at the 30. Here's Elway with time. The home run ball for Upchurch. Broken up by Burrows.
That's all right. It's a good idea if it doesn't work. I just noticed John Hadel, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, sitting down there looking at his playbook, trying to figure out a good play. I noticed he's now wearing glasses, as we all do as the years go by.
Yes.
I guess he pulled a long one out.
Now that's the first time that Elway has attempted the bomb. He's now 2 for 8, 22 yards. John Elway, a pure passer out of that pro-style offense at Stanford, where he concluded his college career with a host of records, 5 all-time NCAA records, 9 Pac-10 records.
And nobody can hear if they're outside the guards right now. Donnell Thompson's back in the ball game.
Elway stepping up to throw, intended for Upchurch, covered by Derek Hatchett.
That's all right. If I'm Denver, I'm going to say, okay, we've made a commitment. Let's fire this ball around the infield a little bit. Their defense is such that they are not going to let us run consistently. We're not geared to run the ball effectively. So let's just put it on John's shoulders and see how he comes out. Now, I'll tell you, when he steps up, he knows that he's trying to get to his receiver after he's almost covered. Fires the ball maybe a little bit too hard. Anyway, it's an incompletion.
And it's a 3rd down and 10. The rookie out of South Carolina State, Zach Thomas, has come out as a 3rd wide receiver for Denver. Elway with time, and it's Steve Watson for the first down.
Whew. I'll tell you, you don't have to give him much room. That's what people are impressed with, is the arm on the man, and once he makes a decision to throw it, watch how fast it takes off. When that thing's going bap, you don't see anybody around Watson when he catches the ball. That's because the defense is given no indication where it's going until it's gone, and that's good for receivers.
And good for 15 yards and a first down at the 45-yard line. 5.5 left first half. It's Baltimore 3 and Denver nothing. Second back, Sammy Winder. And Sammy Winder with a nice run. Sander Shiver on the tackle.
Just kind of wiggled his way through there. Last week, what did he get? 96 yards, something like that?
96 yards, 20 carries, including a short touchdown run.
I noticed Steve Watson helping out. When you find your receivers helping out your backs, those draw plays will work a lot better.
The measurement and a first down for Denver. What's your reaction to the reported pregame pep talk given by the Baltimore owner, Robert Irsay? Now, Irsay is not particularly well respected by his players. Do you think they'll take it seriously? He's trying to pump them up because he wants the Colts to have a particularly good game against Denver, against Elway.
It's pretty difficult for me to put any reality on the subject because I've never had an owner come into the locker room to give me a pep talk. I think it depends on who it is and what he says. I think Frank Cush handles that area pretty well himself and doesn't need any help. But I know this, they're playing very aggressively right now.
Hard a hand for Johnny Cooks, who was shaken up a moment ago. Johnny Cooks, last week, won it in overtime with the 52-yard fumble return touchdown. Second-year man out of Mississippi State. All right, that's next Sunday, starting at 12:30 Eastern Time. NFL 83 will get the day going with a look at Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann, and then regional action. We suggest you check your local listings for the game in your area. First and 10 at the 45. 81 Watson peeling off. A deep drop for the screen, overthrows Nathan Poole.
Hey, what John did, he got out of the area a little too quick, and he had a defensive end in his face, tried to go over the top, get it gone a little fast. He's generally an outstanding screen player. See, he set up, but he committed himself to the screen a little too fast. That allowed number 78 for the Colts, Steve Parker, to put his arms up, get in the way, and really defeat the screen.
All right, he has completed some nice passes since the bad start. You think he's still pressing?
No, he's ready to play right now, and you're taking a look at a kid that loves to play. He's been a little more effective.
Second down and 10. Upchurch in the slot left. Quick opener for Winder. So Sammy Winder with another impressive move. Greg Bracelet made that good low tackle. Later word on Bob Swenson, who was helped off earlier. It is a strained knee, so not as serious as first thought.
We see Winder, he's picking up the yards that they're giving him, and the defense is concerned right now with Elway throwing the ball. Once you get a defense concerned with what you're doing, you can go ahead and execute a lot of options, and that's what they've got Baltimore concerned with right now.
Third down and 2. And Winder is stopped. Ernie Barnes, number 95, led the defensive charge for Baltimore.
I don't know if they've got a special play, but I'll tell you what I'd do right now, Marv. If they have, and if I know Hadel, I'm sure they've worked something out. If there's a 4th and 1 situation where they're going for it, just send everybody right over the top of the right side. Little play action pass, put Steve Watson or whoever that man is tight, sliding through the defense, and you'll be standing all alone. I don't know if they'll call it. Takes a little moxie, but I think it's there right now.
So Denver 4th down and 2 at the Baltimore 37.
What happened there? I think they're claiming that the right guard pulled the defense off, but I don't know if the officials saw it that way.
Well, the offside on the Colts. And so Denver has picked up the first down.
That's the sort of thing, it's the sort of mistake a young team will make and you don't want to make. Ernie Barnes that time thought he saw the right guard.
95 defense.
Pull him off sides. Well, so what? The situation's too tight. Just stay there and
Barnes is a rookie for Mississippi State. Timeout has been called. We'll be right back.
This is Len Berman in New York, and the Raiders are doing it to the Oilers. Greg Pruitt faked left, went right, clear sailing. That made it 13-0. It's now 13-3. Back to you, Marv.
Thank you, Len. Denver up to the line of scrimmage. And again, some confusion, and a timeout is called.
That's the 4th time there's been confusion in the communication between the offensive signal caller, the sideline, and the group. Now, it's tough enough to hear anything out there, but if you've got to condense it into simplicity, or you keep stopping yourself. Now, they had Baltimore on the run and a little bit concerned, but they didn't make the most of it, and they had to call a timeout that may stop their drive.
Reviewing the scoreboard, Pittsburgh defeating Green Bay 25-21. Buffalo over Cincinnati 10-6. Dallas big over St. Louis 34-17. Giants in overtime over Atlanta. Washington beat Philly 23-13.
Philly was moving the ball good. They just couldn't get it in.
First down at the 32 of Baltimore. Denver now has 1 timeout left. Baltimore 3. Sammy Winder. So Winder with the spinning move for short yardage. Two-yard advance, and it will be a 2nd down and 8. Last Sunday, the Denver Broncos beating Pittsburgh 14-10. Denver's defensive unit producing 7 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries. In fact, a game that saw a total of 11 interceptions and fumbles. Weird game.
They're keeping this group in this ball game today also, Marv. But right now, the offense has had success going wide with short stuff. I see no reason for them not to continue.
Second down 8 at the Baltimore 30. And Elway off the fake.
Look out, John.
So Elway met by Shivers and Maxwell.
Sander Shiver almost had a head in his hand. He sure took his shot. Now he's a very aggressive linebacker. When you get a quarterback on the run, trying to make a good play out of a bad situation. Look at Shiver coming along. Good duck, big fella.
And with 2 minutes remaining in this first half, we get an official timeout called with the score. The Colts 3, the Broncos nothing. The preceding announcement was furnished as a public service by the National Football League. Baltimore Colts on a 33-yard field goal in the first quarter by Raul Alegre in front of the Denver Broncos, and pretty good football game for a 3-0 game.
It's as good as you'll find for 3-zip.
Third down and 6 at the Baltimore 28. Elway. Dave Preston out of the backfield. And hit out by Vernon Maxwell. Short of the first down.
Now here's your decision. They've got 1.5 yards to go to get a first down. They went for it with 4th down and about 2 out there at the 40. This time they're sending in the field goal, and I agree with it. They've got to get some points on the board. Pretty good play. Dave Preston's a very reliable back, good receiver. Knew where that first down was, just couldn't get to it.
So Rich Carlos in his second year out of Cincinnati last week hit both conversion attempts. Did not attempt a field goal. Steve DeBerg holding. It's a 43-yard attempt. And it's good. Carlos from 43 yards away has tied it at 3.
It's almost like we're playing up there in the mile-high air. That was good for about 62 if he cared to do it.
The Colts and the Broncos tied at 3. Rich Carlos signed as a free agent walk-on in a tryout camp last year that hit 11 of 13 field goal attempts. Upcoming at halftime, a look at the highlights of many of the earlier games, the 1 o'clock games on NFL 83. Next Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, the baseball game of the week here on NBC, featuring a National League East battle between the St. Louis Cardinals and Philadelphia Phillies, or in some areas, you'll see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Boston Red Sox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. And the kick by Carlos. Booms it for Larry Anderson. He'll stay right there. So they'll bring it out to the 20 with 1:51 remaining in this first half. Frank Kush, a defensive lineman at Michigan State, earned All-American honors, even though he weighed only 175 pounds at the time.
Yeah. Listen, Frank Kush is a very involved individual, and he's a good leader. I mean, he does things his way, and he's one of those that'll take responsibility for things. And that's needed as a football coach.
First and 10 for the 20, and Page will go sideline. Intended for Bernard Henry.
You get the feeling that Baltimore has lost the edge that they had early in the game. They had a few things go their way. They got 3 points early. They had a chance to jump on a couple more scores with good field position. Let them get away. I get the feeling that the flow has swung in the other direction right now, and it's hard for that defense to keep Denver in check the way they have for the rest of the ballgame.
No question, they were particularly churned up in the first quarter. There's Pagel moving toward the sideline as the Colts have called for time with 1:48 remaining in the first half.
He's limping. I mean,
he was favoring it. Mike Pagel, a pleasant surprise last year, won the starting job from Art Schlichter and completed 50% of his passes, intercepted only 7 times. This year in a battle with the former Denver Bronco, Mark Herman, who was acquired in the Elway trade. Mark also at first not pleased about coming here to Baltimore, but Herman is out with a broken collarbone, at least 6 weeks.
And that gives Pagel a chance to jump up and take the lead in the battle between the two of them. I think Mark Herman came out of college as fine a young quarterback as there had been in the last few years. He did not get a chance to play in Denver due to Craig Morton maintaining that position for a long time, but I think it was a real good break for Mark to come down here, and sometimes you're a little reluctant to make it. But he should get an opportunity to play, but this young man can get a big edge if he can come on and play the way he did at Arizona State.
It'll be a 2nd and 10 for the Colts. They're back at their 20-yard line. A minute and 48. Remaining first half. We're tied at 3.
Haven't even heard Steve Foley's name mentioned all day. That shows you they're not trying anything down the middle.
On the draw, McMillan. Wrestle him out of bounds after McMillan broke a tackle, a 34-yard run.
Now they're going back, huh? He stepped out of bounds. I guess he was forced by Steve Foley. I'd mentioned we hadn't heard his name all day. The next play, he's trying to make the tackle. Finally did push McMillan out.
So it is spotted at the 40. Nice pickup still for McMillan, who has run for 56 yards on 7 carries. There's the point he stepped out. And here's Pagel on first down. Penalty marker throw. The receiver out there was 88, Bernard Henry, but he was well covered.
The receiver, the closest one to it was number 90, Jose Taylor, standing on the sideline, as I don't think there really was anybody in a position to catch it, and I think Pagel was just firing it away.
Illegal use of the hands, 73 offense, still first down.
This is where, Marv, if you try to get too greedy, a Denver defense, which has been so opportunistic over the years, is more liable to make a big play, get a turnover, get themselves some points before the end of the half. I'm not sure I'd try to go down the field right now.
Steve Wright, the right guard, called on the penalty. First and 20, off the screen, McMillan. And McMillan has popped out of bounds. Dennis Smith and Lewis Wright combining. We're down to 1:27 remaining.
But a very good play call. It's a good call. It's a safe play. It gives you a chance to complete one ball of 10 or 11 yards, pick up your first down, continue on with your drive. They've got 1 minute and 27 seconds left, so they still have a chance.
Well, that's McMillan moving over to the sideline as Frank Cush is doing some shuffling in the backfield. Now has Curtis Dickey combining with Newton Williams. Williams, the fullback, second year out of Arizona State, in there for blocking reasons. Curtis Dickey. Oh, some beautiful open field move. 27-yard pass play.
That was all made possible by Pagel putting his eye down the field. It's a one-on-one situation. Dickey one-on-one with the linebacker. Number 50, Jim Ryan. It's very hard for a linebacker to stay with a good offensive back. Forces Harden to try and make the play. Runs through his tackle. Picks up a first on the inside the 35, and that's a well-conceived play.
And the 2-minute offense of the Baltimore Colts moving downfield very crisply. First down at the 33, minute 13 remaining, and a timeout is called by Baltimore. Brought up the point of the Denver defense, which isn't what it once was, although they did have that good game against Pittsburgh last week, but they're looking to bounce back from finishing 24th in the NFL a year ago.
Well, that's right. They're counting a lot on John to bring them somewhere. They figure if he can't do it, we won't get it done. But on the other side here, Frank Cush, they call timeout. Now I think they're down to 1 left. But it's funny, in the past, you'd get a big completion. That's the time everybody wants to jump up on the line of scrimmage, get another play called, we've got them on the run, and do something. I've noticed time and again today that when something just seems to be breaking, there's a timeout call. And all the momentum that you've gathered and all the flow it disappears.
Denver waited too long to make changes defensively?
No, they're a good defense. They're a super defense. I don't think they've waited too long.
First down at the 33-yard line. And Pagel, oh, what a catch.
Yeah, but I think...
And it was picked away by Lewis Wright. Lewis Wright trying to lateral and gang tackle.
Well, I'll tell you what he did. He took it away from him. Actually, they both had control of the ball, but before the receiver hit the ground, Louis Wright had the ball in his hands. And that's they ought to give him a steal for that. Yes. That's not an interception. Look at this. You can see the receiver has it. It's kind of falling away. Wright catches it just before it hits the ground. Well, that official's in a perfect position to see it. So if it had hit the ground, I'm sure he wouldn't have given it to him. And he did.
Bernard Henry, number 88, with the leaping attempt and then stripped by Wright. He had a notion to hand it off. He was about to hand off to Steve Foley. So Louis Wright, who picked one off against Pittsburgh last week in a different manner. This, as you say, more of a steal, and Denver takes over. Back at their 15, a minute left in the first half. We're tied at 3. Here's Winder. Good hold. Sammy Winder out across the 30-yard line for the first down.
They call a timeout. They've got none left, but they can go back. Now, this is the time when really they can't send anything in. So we're going to see what happens. They've got only enough time to get about 3 plays going. Every team has a 2-minute drill, and I'm sure they'll go in, and with no timeouts, they can't send in any information. Maybe you'll hit a couple, kick 3, who knows.
It has been a very impressive first half for Sammy Winder. 48 yards, 12 carries.
And you can tell now what Dan is discussing with John is what plays do we have time to call. You notice he's looking right at the clock. 51 seconds. The confusion they had during the first and second quarter has kept them from being able to control the ball and the clock because they don't have any timeouts now. And this has happened a lot to Denver, and I think it's hurt their offense consistently over the past couple of years. And I expect it to change because Dan is not he's a very bright guy, and he knows when things are going wrong, we've got to do something to change it. He's going to have to improve their communication system.
Dan Reeves, third-year head coach of the Broncos. Denver went 10-6 in his rookie season, but last year on the strike-shortened campaign, Broncos dropping to 2-7, looking to turn it back the other way. All right, the Broncos. First down at their 30-yard line. Studdard, Bishop, Bryant, Howard, Lanier up front. Watson to the right, Upchurch in the slot. Winder and Paris are the running backs. Off the play action. The screen for Rick Paris.
Oh, my goodness.
And Leo Wisniewski on the stop.
You don't find many nose tackles that are that mobile. Marv, he got stopped at the line of scrimmage, but he saw the play very swiftly. Good lateral pursuit. Had he not, it would have been good for about 15.
Hurry up offense, 4-yard pickup, and here's Elway with time. Going sideline, Watson not able to hold on. Watson was wide open. He got behind Derek Hatchett.
The problem being John did not see him until he almost had thrown the ball in another area. Then he got just at the last second, he saw him out there. Would have been a superb catch, but it's the kind of catch that Steve Watson has made over the past several years to keep drives alive.
And down to 18 seconds remaining.
They've got time, Marv, to throw one ball down the field. And if it is complete, come back, throw a ball out of bounds, and kick a field goal. That's all they have time to do. They have no timeouts left.
And Carlos did hit from 43 yards out a couple moments back. Right. Elway is 5 for 14, 44 yards. Deflected. And incomplete. John Elway looking to throw a bullet, looking to drill it.
Credit the defense. Good D by both sides in the first half. They had better punt, but this is John with excellent pass protection. I think one of the concerns is how good is our pass protection going to be. Steve Parker got his hand into things and fouled him up again for Elway, but
so it's Luke Pressbridge back at his 20. And Larry Anderson is back. 10-man rush. And again, Pressbridge angling. Here's Anderson. 15-20. And we're down to 2 seconds remaining of the half. Anderson run out by Jim Wright. 52-yard punt. Both punters have been booming them today.
There's two excellent punters, and that has a lot to do with the score being 3-3. You keep a team from getting good field position, and the only mistake that I believe Baltimore made is that 4th down fake punt. Other than that, they'd have given them the donut.
Yes, the attempt by Barry Krause that went nowhere. So 2 seconds remaining in the half. Baltimore at their 26-yard line, and Pagel will just run it out. And that's the end of the first half here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. With the score, the Denver Broncos 3 and the Baltimore Colts 3. We'll be back in a moment.